Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our official Marymount Athletics podcast made by Marymount. My name is Ella Denicola, and today we're joined by one of my teammates, senior on the men's swim team, Trevor Cairns. Trevor talks to us a little bit about how he got started with swimming at a young age, what growth he's seen through the men's team over his years here at Marymount, and kind of his pre-race superstitions. So we're excited to see what Trevor has to say. So let's meet Trevor himself. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our official Marymount Athletics podcast made by Marymount. And I'm joined here by a very special athlete here at Marymount, one of my teammates, Trevor Cairns, a senior on the men's swim team. Trevor, how are you today?
Hi, everybody. I'm pretty good. Just got out of practice this morning, so about to go back. Hopefully it'll be a little better than this morning. But.
Yeah, this morning was a little rough, but we powered through. You know, that's how it is.
Agree.
Yeah. All right, so going with that, starting off a little bit on the swimming track. Trevor, tell us a little bit how you got into swimming. How long have you been swimming? Kind of like how did that form for you, you know, just some swimming background?
So I have two older siblings, one of which actually swam at D1, but they were always in the water when they were really young. And being the youngest, I was always in the stands watching. And from my understanding, you know, I was pretty young, but I was quite the troublemaker on the bleachers.
Oh, shocker.
So one day, you know her very well, my mother decided to just put me in. And that's how I became a swimmer. I swam all the way up till middle school, and then I did the whole like basketball, baseball thing, realized I was terrible, and then went right back into swimming through high school. So from freshman year high school all the way up here was when it really got serious for me, swimming.
Right, so thinking there, like so when you stepped away from swimming, like did you miss it? Like, you obviously came back to it. Like, what was kind of like the feeling there when you were like, yeah, I'm not really good at basketball. I'm not really good at baseball.
And that was exactly the thing. And I don't want to sound like cocky or anything like that. But like when you go from a sport that you're better than most people at, and you go to a sport where you know you're definitely not one of those people anymore.
Yeah.
That's what makes you miss it. I wouldn't say I necessarily miss, you know, practicing, and I know you can relate to that. But racing and, you know, being a valued member of that team is pretty irreplaceable when you speak of other sports for me.
And I think, too, like, and, you know, you can speak on this, too. And, like, I feel like this is very unique because both of us swim the same sport. We've been doing it for so long. But for us, practice is very much different than meets for us. Like, people, like, when I feel like other sports, they have, like, their meets and or practices and games, like, you know, they enjoy it. For us, it's very mentally and physically exhausting, and so like getting to those meets is really rewarding, but I feel like for us it's just very different.
There's a lot of people where, you know, as just a normal swimmer, it's like a daily task where you go home after practice and you complain to somebody. I feel like every single swimmer does that.
Yeah.
And it's always like kind of the same thing, like, you know, why are you doing that? Like, just quit. And they don't understand that, like, yeah, all the practice, it adds up, but it's so worth it when you get to like meets and stuff. It's just so, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's really almost electric.
Yeah, it is. And I think it speaks to levels because we'll look at your shirt here.
Right.
Because both of us are both Atlantic East.
Finally.
Yeah, champions. It was a big year for us last year. Mm-hmm. So with that, let's talk a little bit about last year. So last year was a long year, I feel like, for all of us. And there was we did different things. We had different meets. Kind of talk us a little bit through your junior year, kind of like your junior season, kind of leading up to conference there.
Well, I had the 2 years prior, I had like a COVID year through freshman year. So that was really, really difficult to navigate through. You couldn't get really a good feel of what a swim year at the collegiate level would be like.
But somebody still had a very good freshman year, if I remember correctly.
I did. But junior year, you know, I had a lot of people transfer out of my year, a lot of good friends. So it was a lot of new faces coming in my junior year. And being the captain of a team like that, it's not scary, but it definitely makes me anxious. Because I don't know anybody, and I don't know what, you know, they're like. I have a lot of awesome teammates that I met last year that I love to death.
Definitely lifelong friends.
100%.
I can speak on that.
Yeah, Ryan Faraday, Karsten Hicks, even though he's a crazy guy. He's cool. But, yeah, there's a lot of new freshmen this year, which makes me even more excited to have the same result as last year when we went into champs and kind of printed Marymount's name on it.
And I think, too, when we look at, like, Atlantic East, like our conference. Like for us, it's a 3-day meet. We get there on Thursday. We swim Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I remember just the energy being so different Sunday morning than it was my freshman year, because I was a sophomore last year. The difference in energy, I think, showed a lot of how we grew as a team, especially with that going in of like what you said, like with that little bit of that COVID year and like still getting adjusted. Last year was the first normal year in a long time. So like when we went in, Sunday morning, the energy was just different. We were ready, and it was just it was a good place to be, rather than like, oh my God, we have one more day. It was like we're almost there, like we can do it. Like the energy was just different.
Years prior, I think we were coming in as, I mean, I say underdogs. We were underdogs.
Right.
So, Sunday morning rolls around and your body's obviously destroyed. And, you get on deck. Nobody wants to warm up because nobody wants to warm up anyway. No. But now you really don't want to warm up because it hurts.
You're tired. It hurts. You're exhausted.
But last year we rolled in. You knew, there's a pretty good shot that we'd walk away with it. And everybody was in right away.
Yeah.
And it was lighthearted. It was fun. People were actually swimming. So I think it was drastically different last year compared to other years, and that's what makes me so excited to keep going this year.
So with that, like, what is something that keeps bringing you back every year? You're going into your senior year, and you've came back every single year, and there's those moments, and as a swimmer and as your friend, like, you're like, I really like this is I don't know, but what keeps bringing you back every single year?
Well, I have made a lot of good friendships, even though some of them have went on to bigger and better things. But really, my first year, it was a new coach with Chris Natoli, and he kept telling me, he was like, Trev, you just got to stick it out, and it'll get better. Like, we're going to bring in the pieces that we need, and it'll get better. And I kind of just gutted it out from there, and I said, I want to be a part of, like, a dominant collegiate swimming team. In high school, I was from a small high school. There wasn't a lot of winning going on. There's more personal than team oriented. Right.
That's a big thing. I like that you talked about that, because before even I came to school too, swimming was so individual. Mm-hmm. But like now, like if I have a bad swim, I don't care. But if we still win, that's at the end of the day. That's what I care about.
That's the goal.
And I think that's such a big difference between club and high school rather than when you come into college. I think that I'm really glad that you pointed that out. That's a really
and it's such like point. It's such a weird feeling going to practice, and that these guys, like not most, but there's a lot of these guys that are faster than you in practice by a lot faster than you.
Yeah.
And it hurts a little bit, but I like to think of it as a reward that when you go to a meet, you're not swimming against him; he's on your team.
Exactly. You know what? He's scoring points for your team.
I'm like, go ahead, big man, you got it. Go ahead. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good competitive. A competitive thing in practice to try to make yourself better. You're helping you and you're helping them.
Right.
But when it comes to meet time, it's like, you go. You got it.
And, and I speak to this too. I think last year, I keep going back on last year because last year was just such a big year for us. I think we had a very big training trip that we took as a team. And then we came back 2 weeks early. So we had a short break, winter break. But arguably, I say that was a turning point for us because of the way like we bonded as a team.
Yeah, I think obviously the swimming helped a lot.
Yeah,
because we were in for what felt like forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it's funny because when you're in there, when you're in the pool, all you can think about is how you don't want to be there anymore. And then you leave. We left Florida, and all of a sudden I'm thinking back on training trip like, wow, that was like the best 5 days of my life.
It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I think just. Not only is everybody together, but everybody is going through such a terrible, terrible thing. It makes you a lot closer. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the training trip. It's so fun.
What was your favorite memory from that training trip?
There's a lot of funny memories we got a lot of grumpy people rolling into the second practice of the day, especially when you get to the back end of the week. There's a lot of grumpy people.
Day 4.
A lot
Day
of grumpy
the
people.
Hardest.
And there's always people. I'll shout out Karsten Hicks. He always has some joke to tell. Like he's always trying to be funny. So even though it's so annoying at some points, it is. I think it's much needed, especially at points like day 4, second practice. So yeah. Definitely.
So, and then we came back 2 weeks early. So that was, that's hard for us too, because it's us and like 2 other teams here. And like, we're stranded together.
Right.
And I will say it was you, me, and Delaney Carey, former senior, one of our best friends that we love near and dear. You and I and Delaney had to really like form together and like push each other through that 2 weeks. And I think that also like was a really big change point with those 2 weeks, because there were nobody else here. Like we had to be with each other. That once again, just that bonding.
Yeah, I don't know. I could not imagine going through something like that. Just, you know, going to the pool by yourself, leaving and sitting in your room by yourself, probably sleeping, and then going back to yourself by yourself again and again and again. That would be terrible. I mean, we were doing puzzles. We had
Nerf guns.
Yeah.
Like we just went around town. Like we tried to keep it
right,
so we weren't just sitting in our room being like, man, this sucks.
Feeling sorry, you know?
Yeah. So you're a pretty academic human being. So you are back to back, I believe, the Atlantic East Elite 20 award winner. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you are also a very decorated swimmer. Can you tell me a little bit about, so you're very good at swimming and you're very good academically. How do you balance that? Like, is that, I mean, because you're excelling, you have the highest GPA in all of the conference and all of men's swimming, and then you come in and you win the 2-back. There's a lot going on there between in a day in the life of Trevor. Kind of how do you balance everything?
I think it's a little more about just being more self-aware about what you have to get done and when you have to get it done, rather than just having intellectual ability, you know what I mean? So just creating that almost rigid schedule, because you know swimming is not going anywhere. That's somewhere you have to be, and if you're not, you know, Chris Natoli has something to say to you.
He will find you.
Right. He will hunt you down. But it's more about using all those other extra hours, whether it's, you know, the 4 hours between practices or something like that, to get what you have to get done. And it, for me, you know, waiting till the absolute last second to get assignments done makes me so anxious and makes me turn in such, you know, low quality work that's not something I do. So, you know, whether it's like making up your own deadlines, which sometimes I do, that's pretty psychological if you ask me, but I don't know, it works for me. You know, studying with other people, whether you're learning it or teaching it, I think teaching it is obviously the best way to learn stuff, when you know what you're talking about and you're telling other people how to do it. But yeah, I think it's just a solid balance of being, you know, self-aware and then making a rigid schedule for you to follow.
Right. So, like, you know, with us with swimming, like you said, we practice every morning and then in the afternoons twice a week. So that schedule, like you said, is not going anywhere. Like, that's sticking with us until February, until that conference meet. So you kind of have to be self-disciplined. Like, you have to make the time.
Right.
And actually, I was talking to our graduate assistant this morning, Emily, about it. Like, you have to sacrifice some things. If that's sacrificing sleep, it's sacrificing sleep. If that's sacrificing time that you're going out with your friends, you know, you have to be willing to give up that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to get it done. You have to.
Yeah.
I know I might be a little biased because I've been here 5 or 4 years, but I think it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even though the daily grind of swimming can be brutal, I think, you know, having that team essence and that the final result at the end of the year, I mean, what's a Friday night in September mean to that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's something I'm willing to do. Obviously, I've been doing it for a couple of years now, but yeah, I love it.
So going back again on last year, what was your favorite memory all of last year?
Oof.
Obviously winning conference. Okay, I am going to draw the line. You cannot say conference because that's
the training trip was really good. I don't know.
You can even go to a specific dual meet, a specific race.
I mean, I think there was one against Catholic in Catholic, and there's one in Randolph-Macon at Randolph-Macon. And we lost. The
Randolph-Macon one's very special. I like that one.
We lost both of those meets. But I think, you know, both those teams came in, you know, thinking they would walk all over us. And I think, you know, we kind of set the tone that, hey, like, we're on the up right now, and you better watch where you swim. You know what I mean? We're on the way. So I think it'll put a lot of teams on notice, not only the teams we swam, but when you put results out like that, you know, people wake up to who we are. So I think Marymount swim's definitely on the up.
Yeah.
And those are my favorite. They're so small, and they're not like.
No, I do know exactly what you're talking about. I remember those.
It's kind of like a little pride thing, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I think that also goes back to when it was our last dual meet last year. It was a tri-meet. It was against St. Mary's and Cabrini. And that was when I think you might have been sick that meet. I think you were feeling a little under the weather.
I swam it.
Yeah, you did. I will give you the credit. I'll give credit where credit's due. But I think you swam the 2 free. And that 2 free was a big turning point for us. I think that without that 2 free, without you pushing through, being that leader, being that captain that you are, I think that speaks levels to the kids younger than you, to the the whole team.
Right.
Of
Thank
course.
You.
Anything.
So kind.
You know, I got to give credit where credit's due.
Thank you.
I do hate to feed the ego. But all right. So before we end, let me dive into a little few questions here. Do you have any like superstitions when you swim?
Superstitions.
Like maybe the night before, the week of, day of, right before you swim?
I don't know if it's superstitions, but there's definitely like, I don't know, like maybe potentially weird things that I do. Like I can't eat. Like I don't eat at all.
You don't eat.
I feel like it's just such a polar opposite like thing in swimming, where either people got to eat so much or they got to not eat at all.
Right.
And I'm definitely a not eat at all guy, because if I'm like in the middle of a 200, I cannot be feeling that. I'm feeling all sorts of pain. That is not one pain I need to be feeling right then and there. So,
fair.
It's more just water for me. And I don't know, I do this, it's not superstitious, but every time that I get like anxious or nervous to swim, I yawn. Like I can't help it. I yawn. And like I don't know if it's like just a physiological response, but I feel so sluggish and tired every time. And it's definitely like a it messes with your mind a little bit, like, man, like I am not ready to swim this event. Yeah. But I think I've been swimming long enough to know like I'm not tired. How your body works. I'm not tired right now. Right. You know what I mean? So I obviously don't do it on purpose. It's not superstitious, but it's just something that I do every single event. It doesn't even matter what it is. Like whether I care about my time or not, you know what I'm talking about. But it just happens. I can't stop it.
So before actually I dive into my next one, I want you to talk a little bit about something very interesting that you do at our conference meets. You drink a specific liquid. Oh.
Yeah,
can you talk about that?
Yeah.
And kind of where that came from, because it's disgusting, unfortunately.
It's a shout out to our assistant coach, Jake Ball. He told me, I think it was 2 years ago before our conference meet, he goes, like back when I swam, everybody was drinking beet juice and cherry juice before their events. So I guess it helps with hemoglobin and like oxidizing the blood, which is fine. Like I understand that. And I was like, you know what? I'll take any help I can get. Like it's just beet juice and cherry juice. So I can figure it out. I did not know beet juice was the most disgusting liquid on the planet.
It's so bad.
It is awful. So
but you do in fact drink it before every finals.
I do. Prelims I can't handle it. Like I cannot. I'm not drinking that right now. Especially with the whole like eating thing. I'm not having beet juice. So I mean finals I'll have it early enough so it doesn't affect me, but I don't know whether it's actually, physiologically beneficial or if it's just, like a placebo type thing. But either way, I swim faster. So I'm all right with it. I'm doing it again this year. Ella's doing it again with me. Beet juice, cherry juice. I'll count you in.
Dirt,
it does taste like dirt.
But we'll power through.
Right.
So I also know the answer to this question, but I am curious to maybe see if the answer has changed over the years. So
right.
What is the one song that you listen to before you swim?
Well, it hasn't changed. It's on the playlist. I still listen to it. Fair Trade by Drake. I know that's what you were thinking.
Yes, it is. Okay.
It's not really a pump up song. I don't know why it gets me pumped up, but it does.
I think it just does. I think like past memories we've had with the song, it just always hits.
Right. But there's a lot of like rap songs that get me pumped up.
Yeah.
That I use.
But you always stick to
Fair Trade's on there.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. Every swimmer does the same exact thing. You get like 20 minutes out from having to go behind the block. You don't talk to them. The earplugs are in. Yeah, AirPods are in.
Jacket comes on. Hood comes up.
They're jumping around. Using PVC pipes. Like anything you do right then and there is going to change your event. Like
it's all in the mindset,
right,
okay?
yeah.
And we're both guilty of it. We'll get there. You walk away from everybody, head down and hood on. You're like, you're in demon time. Nobody's talking to you.
Nobody's talking to you.
And then you go in and you swim your race probably the same as you would, but it's all about the mindset. It's all about the mindset.
Yeah, I like that.
So, obviously, our goal is to win another conference championship going into conference in February. What is an individual goal you have for the whole year? It can be, you're going into your senior year, so it could be, you're applying to grad school. You want this in swimming. Where are we looking?
Well, athletically, I took the 200 free record last year. We brought in a bunch of new guys. I know that's not going to hang around long. So I'm going to try my best to break it and keep it.
Right.
Even if I break it, I know it's still not hanging around long. But that's something I'd like to do. I finally got my name up there. I'd like to keep it for as long as I can.
Right.
But academically, I'm trying to stay at Marymount for their grad program in Boston.
Yay!
Right? Yeah. It's kind of been something I've been dreaming of ever since I heard about the program. I had a family friend come through the program, and she showed me around the building and stuff like that. So that's something I really want to do. I'm really passionate about PT. It's definitely what I want to go into. I want to go into sports. It's incredibly difficult to do that. So we'll see what happens, but I definitely want to, be with a professional team as a
Gotcha.
physical therapist. Yeah.
Right there with you on the professional team level. Go
Yeah.
Yankees, though.
Right. Right.
All right, Trevor. Well, I appreciate it, and thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today.
Thank you.
And I will see you tomorrow morning for practice.
Absolutely.
Sounds
See
good.
you there.